Welcome to From Shadows to Strength. I'm Tyson, alongside my co-host Jay. This podcast serves as a training space for those seeking to transform their struggles into stepping stones towards a brighter life. Each week, we'll delve into essential topics in different aspects of health, mindset, addiction, and other relevant subjects, covering everything from overcoming anger and betrayal to practicing self-care and fostering community and healthy relationships. Join us on this journey as we equip you, our audience, with the tools and insights we've gathered from our unique paths of resilience, redemption, and personal growth. Let's embark on today's episode. All right, so here we go, my friend. This is podcast episode 1, Introduction to Our Journey. So this is my co-host Jay. I'm Tyson. So Jay, I'm going to go and ask you first. Please, I want you to introduce yourself, your background, what got you into the military, and eventually what led to you joining JTF, the Special Forces.
Background is I was born in 1974, long time ago,
man.
and Generation X. Everybody knows the best generation that's left alive now. So,
Undefeated.
but yeah, and grew up. I was born and raised in Germany. Came to Canada when I was 13 years old. Normal stuff. Went to school, college, high school, college, all this sort of stuff. And the reason why I joined military is childhood trauma.
Good enough reason.
I wish I could go into something saying like, oh, it was a duty and honor and this and that, which it was afterwards. But at the beginning, it was childhood trauma. Growing up with a narcissist parent and everything else. And you look for that companionship, that guidance, that leadership you never got. And military was the way to go, and I went that way. So that's why I joined. And then September 11th was a big influence on me and joining the Special Forces.
So I know, obviously you and I are friends. We train together. I've known you for years, since I think 2020. We've known each other
COVID
since I joined 613. So you're, if you don't mind me asking, I know your grandfather and both your father also served in the military, correct? Yes. So did that also have a bit of an influence into you wanting to join the military, or was it strictly kind of for your own reasons? Like you said, kind of like childhood trauma, stuff like that.
Yeah. At the beginning, I didn't want to join because of my grandfather and father. Like at the time, I didn't appreciate that whole family tradition, carrying on, following in the footsteps and stuff like that. I was actually like probably mad at the military, you could say at first, because, dad was never home. He was always deployed. He was always gone, stuff like that. So you kind of get a little bitter. At the military, you're like, I didn't have a father growing up, left us home alone with a mother that was a narcissist or a bipolar, all that sort of stuff. And so I was actually quite mad at the military before. And then I joined just basically out of I was in college. I was getting my education that way, but I was bored out of my skull. College and business administration wasn't for me. I was majoring in accounting, which is really weird for people to find out about. They don't understand. I'm good with numbers.
When you told me that, I was like, what?
Yeah, I was actually going to be an accountant and shit. And then, I don't know, I just got extremely bored. So I thought I'd join the military. There was peacekeeping missions going on at the time back then. And I joined. And when I joined, I was like, I'll do a 3-year stint and I'll see how it goes. I didn't plan on doing any longer than 3 years. I just wanted to sign one contract, see how it was, get some experience. And then everything changed after that.
Can you, so it wasn't legacy. Obviously that wasn't until later, like you said,
Right.
It played into it a little bit. It was more for other reasons, obviously, as you just explained. And you said, first deployment. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about your first deployment? I know, there's certain things I know you can't talk about, but whatever you can discuss. Again, just to get a bit of an insight into, what maybe your first tour was like.
Yeah, first tour I went to, it's called Bosnia, former Yugoslavia. So we were doing a peacekeeping mission. The war there had just ended in Yugoslavia. So we were going there to kind of keep everybody on their side, the Muslims, the Bosnians and all that. We kept them separated, just a peacekeeping force. And I remember going there fresh out of college, had done 2 years of college, took a break to go to do this peacekeeping mission. I remember landing in the plane, looking around, and I was just like, damn, this is remember it to this day, I always think differently, but back then I was like, this is a fast track to being a man, real fast. You're seeing blown out houses, people living in half the house because the other house is blown out. You see dead bodies and cows and farm animals everywhere. They had hosted the Olympics there sometime in the 80s. I can't remember. Yugoslavia hosted the Olympics, and they had taken the Olympic soccer field, and that's where they had buried all these bodies were in the Olympic soccer field in Sarajevo. So I remember seeing that too and everything. And I was just a young kid out of Canada and never really experienced that stuff before. And then you get out of the plane, landed, looked around, and I was just like, holy shit. That 6.5-month tour, that was growing up real fast, realizing, okay, this is what the real world is. This is what happens in the world. This is civil war. This is war, stuff like that. So, yeah, so I kind of came back from that, and things were different ever since that day.
Because if I'm not mistaken, if my memory kind of serves me correct, that war was a genocide.
Yes.
Right? It was I believe they were trying to exterminate. Was it the Muslims they were trying to exterminate, or was it the other way around?
They both kind of did it. Like when the Muslims
So they're
would take
both
over
trying
the
to
land.
attack each other. Okay, right.
So when the Muslims took over the land, they killed all the pigs that the Serbians had and stuff, and then the Serbians would take back over land and notice all their pigs was killed. And yeah, there was crazy extermination on both sides. It was like a no rules, no Geneva Convention. There was none of that stuff. It was just one side was going for it all. So, yeah.
So there's like no rules of war don't apply, basically, when something like that's going on.
Yeah, it was kind of like Rwanda, where it was like whoever was stronger could basically...
The Hutu, Tutsi kind of thing.
So it was kind of like whatever side was stronger could get away with more shit and do more stuff, So we flew in there. I was on Roto 3, it's called. It's like your rotation. There's 1, 2, 3, and it just keeps going up on numbers. So I was the third rotor over there, and we were basically part of the demining crew. So a combat engineer. So I take the explosives out of the ground. We look for anti-personnel mines, anti-tank mines, booby traps, all the stuff that was left over from the war. Because everybody who planted it was basically killed. All the maps were destroyed, if there even was maps. So nobody knew where anything was. So we went over there and we basically tried to make the country safe and take all this stuff out of the ground and find booby traps and pull it out. Yeah.
What was that like?
It's weird. It's like when you're training for it. So you spend 6 months training to go over there. And it's always practicing. But when you're over there in the country, actually pulling a live one out for your first time and just knowing like, yeah, if I make a mistake, I won't be around to complain about it and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just very different. You just, like I said, it's one of those things where you grow up fast because you're like, you got to get experience. So your boss calls you up, your sergeant, he's in charge of you, calls you up, explains to you, okay, you remember your training, how you're going to do it, you're going to go up, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, yep. And then next thing you know, you're up doing it. He stands back behind you because if it does go off, you don't want everybody to be killed. I mean, it's bad to say, but you want to give some space between the next guy in case something does go wrong. So he backs up, he kind of yells you stuff. You yell back to him. You pay attention to what you're doing. But yeah, it's one of those things like you take deep breaths and you're all calm. But once your hand goes in, your hands start to move a little. And then you come out and you're just soaked with sweat and stuff like that. And you try to pawn it off to the...
Yeah, no big deal. It's all good, bro.
Yeah, I got it. It's my first one. No big deal. And then you're in the back of the tank and your adrenaline shaking and stuff like that. You try to act cool, but
that's insane. So when you're doing it, do you do one, then someone else does another one? Do you guys take turns? Like how does that work?
Yeah. So basically the Sarge, the guy in charge will go look at it and he'll see if it's like a super complicated one, a basic one, like he'll kind of get a good idea. And if it's one that's pretty basic, he'll bring you up so you get some experience doing these live. So he'll let you work on stuff. He'll let you pull one out. But if it's a very complicated one or if something looks iffy, then usually the most experienced guy will do it just because he doesn't want anything happen to his young guys. But he will, if it's a basic one, a basic anti-tank mine, basic anti-personnel, no booby traps, stuff like that. Yeah, you have to go up. You have to get your experience doing it.
I didn't even know that there was really, I mean, again, I'm kind of ignorant to this, and I'm sure some of the viewers and listeners are ignorant to it. So what would kind of constitute a more difficult, let's say, scenario and a basic one? Because I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so a basic one is, let's say, anti-tank mine, it's about this big, and they put it in the ground, and they just bury it maybe a foot under, and the tank goes over and then explodes, no big deal. That's a basic one. So where they get good is they take them and they stack them. So they'll put one under another. So they can stack them 3 deep on top of one another. And then at the very bottom, if you go to pull this up or anything, they could put a grenade in there. So when you pull it up, you found the mine, you're pulling it out of the ground to make it safe, but then there's a booby trap for you with a grenade that'll set it off, that'll set up the mine and everything else. And they have these little booby
Holy
trap
smokes.
devices as you unscrew the cap to pull the fuse out, where there's a light sensitive booby trap in there. So as soon as you pull the cap off and the sunlight hits it, it'll go off. So yeah, they do some good booby traps. They used to do what it was called like a daisy chain. So you have one mine here and another mine could be 10 feet behind that one under you. And it's connected by, it's called det cord. So when this one goes off, the one that's 15 feet back, actually under your vehicle that you don't know, that's buried deeper, that one will go off as well. Almost like they connect 3 or 4 of them together, but spread out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this was kind of landmine 101.
Yeah. Yeah. So people back then, they got creative. They would hook 1 together, then 2 together, 3 together. They'd try to make almost like a spider web, and they would try to connect them all together. So if you happen to go over one, but they know you travel with multiple vehicles, then you have another one go off, and you have almost like this big cluster of mines all going off at once.
So like a domino effect, basically.
Yeah.
You hit one and then they all just kind of go.
Exactly. So when you're digging in the ground, you're looking for any kind of wire that's going, seeing if it's connected. You try to move some dirt over just to look underneath to see if you can see a booby trap or a grenade, anything under there waiting for you. So yeah, sometimes you get lucky and it's just a basic one, and other times you get this like mammoth operation ones and stuff. And then, yeah.
So to clear a field or to clear, let's say, an area, how long of a job? Like how long would that take?
So back then, like in 98, the
Yeah.
technology wasn't like now where you could use now we have certain software that can jam signals and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But we call it like the Liberace, where you're on your hand and face, going through the grass or the ground with your fingers, or this little knife poking the ground. It's like a little prodder. And a big area, God, you're talking 7 guys, if it's not war, like if it's no stress, you don't have to get through right away, it'd take you, days. If you want to properly clear, because you're using a landmine detector, but some things are made out of plastic. I mean, they got smart and made things out of plastic. They stopped using metal. Sometimes they would just use whatever they have. So you could go with a mine detector, not find anything, and then an explosion would still happen. So a lot of it is you're just on your face, taking, going, and it takes a long ass time.
The kind of a new appreciation for a hands-on approach.
That's true.
Up close and personal, baby.
Yeah. And we had these massive bomb suits that we would wear. And, they had these little AC units, but this is 98 technology. So you're still sweating. You're just soaked. You're trying to find this stuff. It's hot. You're rotating the guys through, because if not, they're just going to get too hot. And once you get too hot and get frustrated, you tend to maybe move a little quicker than you should. And then so the sergeant is always keeping the guys moving, keeping them rotating through, stuff like that.
So it really is a place, like you said, like everything you're telling me, it sounds like this is where your testicular fortitude is tested to, I don't know even what degree you would say. Your character, trust, all those things are being forged, they're being built. And you can tell that, like getting to know you over the years, becoming friends with you, coaching you and training with you and all this stuff, this gives me even more appreciation for the person that you are, because that's a hell of a thing to be carrying. It's a hell of a thing to have lived through. I've lived in some uncomfortable circumstances myself, but I would take where I've been over a minefield, I think, any day of the week.
Yeah. I don't know, it's weird. It's like, and you could say like 2 weeks ago, I was at a bar downtown, carefree, loving my life. 2 weeks later, I'm on my face looking for landmines. Yeah, it's like one of those like, well, that old saying, we're not in Kansas anymore? That was like the epitome of not in Kansas anymore when you're doing that. And you're just like, and you have your tight section. This is your current reality. Yeah, you have your tight section. And back then you have what was your section commander, your sergeant, and you depended on that guy for everything. You depended on him for your knowledge and safety and everything. He was your main guy to take care of you.
So having a sergeant like that, someone you're depending on, would you say that as a you were how old when you did this?
I was born in 74. I think I was 22, 23 when I went over there.
Okay. So given your history with your dad not being there, lack of, let's say, a father figure, how do you feel that, like, maybe guys like yourself having a sergeant, someone that you develop that trust and reliance on, does that translate to almost like a father figure, mentor, guide that you're constantly always relying on to have your back?
Yeah, I always say it's like even personal trainer. If you have a great personal trainer, you can go, sky's the limit how far you're going to go. If you and your trainer aren't connecting, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to listen. You're just going to butt heads all the time. Same with a dad you don't get along with. Same with a friend you don't get along with, or a coworker. If your sergeant isn't good, or if you don't have a good rapport with him, that like you're just risking your life. You're going to hate your time in the military. You're going to hate everything because you're just not jiving with them, But if you take the time and listen to them and other stuff like that, then you have a great time. But back then, it used to take the guys 20 years to become a sergeant. Like you used to have so much experience to get a sergeant. But like anything now in life, now you're seeing sergeants after 5, 6 years, and they don't have the mentorship. They don't have the experience. They don't have the almost big brother attitude that they need. And that's why I find that's why you're seeing the military now nowhere near as good as what it used to be.
So the credibility and the experience back then was considerably different than now.
Yeah. Like look at you from my trainer. Look at personal trainers. Everybody's a fucking personal trainer now. Everybody's on Instagram. Did a weekend course. They're a personal trainer. Everybody's an expert. Everybody's a scientific-based lifter, maximizing performance. Like everybody's a dietitian. Everybody's a fucking weightlifter, a power lifter. Everybody knows. Everybody's selling the shit online. And there's no experience there. They just go online, they look at some stuff, they make up their own stuff, and they sell it. Like everybody's doing it. Like,
yeah, it's annoying being in the industry that I'm in and watching it change. It's no longer about education. I find it's about like who can influence others the best. And that's why I myself and the very few handful of coaches and trainers that I respect are educators rather than influencers. Because again, a lot of the people that I find that are struggling in this industry are because they don't have enough life experience. Like no one who is struggling, single mother, someone who's maybe struggling with a betrayal, breakup, divorce. Like there's so many reasons why people want to start taking back charge of their life and why they start pursuing health, maybe even health issues, right? They get diagnosed with something. I wanted to be a trainer and a coach when I was younger. And I'm glad I didn't. And I'm not saying that young people can't do it, but I lacked the empathy. I lacked the knowledge. I lacked the understanding. I lacked the life experience that is required to truly help somebody. Because in order to be a good coach, a good trainer, you need to be a good leader, and you need to lead by example. You have to make sure that if you're telling someone, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, you need to make sure that you are doing the same thing and that you've developed a template, you've developed a system that your clients can mirror and adopt and adapt to their day-to-day life. Now, I'm not a single mother, so how would I know? Well, I was raised by a single mother.
Yeah.
Right. I had a single mother. I remember what she went through. I remember the struggles. I remember what was required of me as her son in order to help the house run. Right. I think our generation grew up a lot faster than the generation now, like it was different. I mean, if you wanted the Olympia results back when we were young, you waited to the next issue, right? The next month. You kids want the Olympia results, are seeing it live. Like we didn't have that, like it's just funny how things have changed so much in the industry. But anyways, I don't want to get too far off track, but yeah, I appreciate you sharing that kind of very real introduction into who you are, your history, because a part of this podcast, from shadows to strength is getting people to understand that we're not talking about things that we read in books. We're talking about things that have been learned from the school of literal hard knocks, the hardest of knocks. And even though we have two different journeys, you from being in the military, myself, doing a decade in prison, being sentenced to life in prison, and still being on parole till the day I die, there's a lot in common when it comes to that. Yeah. So thank you for telling our listeners about that. Appreciate it.
I remember when I first met you, 2020, during COVID, we were sneaking into the back door at this different gym we were at. And then we first met. And then I remember you telling me like, yeah, I was in prison. I was like, what the fuck was that? And to this day, I don't really know the whole story. You've told me stuff, but I never really wanted to pry and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember you said, yeah, I was in prison, got paroled, got out, turned my life around. And I was like, holy shit. So, but I don't even to this day know the full story of kind of that.
Yeah, it's always, I find it's actually a cool thing when I meet someone and I tell them, oh yeah, I did, I'm on parole, I did a decade behind bars. People be like, I would never look at you and guess that. And this is what I'm always trying to get people to understand. Like, your past does not define who you are.
Yeah.
Right? You can take a bad situation and become a better person because of it. So for me, prison, if, to introduce myself to my listeners, it really started, and this is, let's go a little bit before prison, what led to prison. So I would say, obviously, growing up without a dad, and these aren't excuses, but a large population or portion of the population that are in prison are from single parent families, and especially ones that didn't have fathers, right? Because I do think fathers do bring that accountability to the boys and the young men. My mom did her best. I love her for the effort she put in, but there's a lot of things she didn't know how to do and how to manage, which is understandable. Like, if I had a daughter, there are certain things that I would expect my wife to handle because it's just beyond my realm of expertise. I don't understand that. So when I was, going through a really tough time, when I was 14, I got caught shoplifting. And I was still living at home with my grandparents at that time. I had a really rough relationship with my grandfather growing up. My dad, last time I saw him, I was like 4.5 the last time I saw my dad. But my mom had to basically take us in the middle of the night and run to the other side of the country. We were in Vancouver. She fled to Ottawa in the middle of the night because my dad was a little crazy. So basically, this is back in the mid 80s. Women didn't have the same rights as they do now. And she had to basically lay really low until she got custody of me, because technically it was kidnapping. So she couldn't get a parking ticket. She couldn't get pulled over when she had me until things got rectified. So fortunately, she had a good lawyer. She got custody. Like I said, we were living with my grandparents. My grandfather, and I don't blame him for this, like, I get it. He saw a lot of my father's characteristics in me, and I think he just wanted to make sure I didn't end up like my dad. But regretfully, he came from, and he was abused when he was young too. He came from a really difficult upbringing. And again, that's not justifying what he did, but regretfully, unless you understand what you went through, you process what you went through, and you heal and move forward from what you went through is most likely what you're going to do with the next generation, regretfully.
Yeah.
That's what intergenerational trauma is. It gets passed on from one generation to the next. So, like, again, he was pretty rough physically with me when it came to discipline. So I had a real, let's say, contempt for men growing up. I didn't do well with that. So after getting caught shoplifting, mom moved out from my grandparents' place. We got our own place, which put me kind of as the man of the house, so to speak, when we were on our own, again, making me grow up a little bit faster. Mom went through some difficult things during that time as well. She had, a bit of a tough time as I put her through a lot. Eventually she reached her breaking point. And, I don't think it ever was able to correct the path that I was on. And it's not my mom's fault. It's just, we're all human. Parents, in the best of their ability, still make mistakes, much like myself. And regretfully, she got remarried, moved away. And that time where I was left alone at too young of an age is when I really needed more structure in my life. So I was kind of left to my own devices, and I had no real structure, no real guidance, no real discipline to speak of. Despite the fact that my mom tried to instill those things in me, it was, I think, too little, too late at that point. And I fell in love with the gym. That's a good thing. The gym was a good thing, but regretfully, the environment that I kind of drifted towards was the one that was using and abusing steroids. So that was kind of my introduction into that side of the world, as I was working with a guy in a supplement store. Even though I was like, oh, I'm going to stay natty and I'm never going to touch that stuff, just creatine and protein for me. He was always, him and his buddies were always in the store, and they were, they're all jacked. They're all talking about steroids. He was selling steroids to them in front of me. So eventually you just kind of like, well, what's the big deal? Right? You get influence. You're young. I was 20 years of age when I did my first cycle. And then that's the first line I crossed. Once I crossed that first line, well, then the next line I crossed was smoking weed. Once I crossed that line, it was ecstasy, speed, GHB, almost every drug minus, I would say, the really, really hard drugs. And it wasn't every day. Like, I didn't do the harder drugs every day, but every weekend I was getting high. Every weekend I was partying. Every weekend I was trying to escape the reality that I hated, that I created for myself. And at the same time, when you're in that reality as a doorman and as a person that was now selling drugs, not just doing drugs, but selling drugs, you're in an environment with the wrong associates, the wrong friends, the wrong circle. And that line you thought you'd never cross, well, now I not only crossed that line, I crossed every other line, doing collections for different criminal organizations and different things like that. And that's why. And then the steroid abuse like went up to another level. Like, when I got arrested, the amount of gear I was on was ridiculous. I'm surprised. Like, I don't know. Right now I'm healthy, but I don't know what consequences that's going to have down the road, because the amount I abused for so long, for like a good 5 years, it was just preposterous amounts of steroids and just abuse of my body, treating my body kind of like an outhouse. So that was kind of the first thing. And then, of course, the night in question, it was a close friend of mine that came to me with a problem. Instead of trusting my gut, listening to my gut, I listened to him, and we went along, and someone ended up dead. So it wasn't planned. It was just things got out of hand. Yeah. It's funny. After 10 years of being in prison, I was around a lot of people that were in for murder. Only a handful of those people were actual killers. The majority of people that are in prison for murder aren't murderers. Things got out of hand.
Yeah, fight that goes too far, basically.
Fight, struggle. One, too, that you come across as well is a crime of passion, which is something that's pretty prevalent.
Yeah,
and is sad to see. Anyways, it is what it is. So that was kind of what landed me in prison for the decade, and that was that's kind of where that whole journey started.
Yeah. No, it was crazy. Like, I found out about it and stuff like that. People were telling me, and then I remember me and you would talk more and more at the gym, because during that COVID phase, gyms were quiet, and I mean, you started training a little bit more and stuff like that, and you were like, hey, you're looking not bad, but I think you need a little help in the training department there and stuff like that. I'd be like, oh, who's this cocky fucking guy who thinks he's going to fucking train me?
Me?
But no, and then, I don't know, me and you kind of hit it off from there and started training, and took a little break, and then we're back at it. And then we've been solid now for what, 10 months?
Yeah, I mean, we when we started back together 10 months ago, you had also just had a motorcycle accident, I believe, too.
Yeah.
Which really messed up your shoulder. And you were struggling with a lot of your pressing movements. You were getting, I guess, rehab and different things like that were being done by your physio and stuff. You'd kind of hit like that wall where, like, is this ever going to get better? And then I told you, I'm like, look, dude, learn some more stuff. We got some new tricks in my bag that I think is going to help you out. So give me an opportunity, and let's get you back to fighting form. And it's been well, like, since the past 10 months, we were able to bring dumbbells back in and other things and bring down your pain. So I'm really happy. Hey, we even grew your legs.
Yeah, because when I met you, I was more of a runner. Being in the military, you have to run so much. So run, and then finally can work on my legs and get some muscle and stuff like that. But I remember that was the most hardest thing in the military. You try to have big legs, but when you run 5 days a week and then you're trying to squat in between that and stuff, it's just, man, it was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, like, doing hard leg days with what you were required to do, I wouldn't say that would be beneficial. And you were training for what you needed to be good at. And I think you were telling me, like, when you were in JTF, you had, what was the gun you had to carry again?
It's called it's a heavy weapons gun, just a big machine gun. So it's just very heavy. You got like hundreds of rounds of ammunition. Nothing is light in the military.
Right. Yeah. No. Obviously, it's pretty cumbersome. So you would say that you needed a stronger upper body than lower body.
Oh yeah, because you have to carry all your water. So just 3-4 liters of water, people don't understand how heavy that can get after a while. And then you're carrying your food, everything you need to live, you're carrying on your back, plus your ammunition, the gun. your protective vest with your plates in it and stuff like that. Yeah, you're just like a gorilla up top, and you know, and
This is exactly why you needed leg day. For our listeners, if you had to estimate how much weight in your gear was added to your your body daily, like how much were you carrying around? If you had to estimate.
on the minimum, you're about 40 pounds. And
Okay.
then on your max, like if you're going out for a long time, it could be up to like 80, 85 pounds is in like your rucksack with your plates, the ammunition, the water, everything. Yeah, it's about 80 pounds you're lugging around. So,
It's
and
like
it doesn't matter.
basically two 40-pound weighted vests, which, like I do work with a 40-pound weighted vest. So two of those on me would be brutal.
Yeah. And it's all like so much in straps. So every time I work out with Tyson, you're always trying to tell me to open up because I have this closed friggin' posture from the rucksack and the weights and the protective vest that keeps us all hunched like this. And so, you always telling me I have such a hard time to open up and everything.
Yeah, I've coined it that we're and yours is different, but we live in today's society where we're very internally rotated. I've coined it the nation of internal rotation because we're always on our phones, we're always on our laptop, we're always internally rotated. So our upper back, our thoracic spine is always in flexion. So it's so important that with you and all the clients I work with, it's like, okay, we need to open up the other way. We need to get in thoracic extension, lumbar extension, because we're sitting. We need to get things open up the other way so we can improve posture, minimize shoulder issues, lower back issues, hip issues, things like that. Like I had knee pain for the longest time. And I'm like, oh, it must be my hips, or it was my lower back.
Yeah.
It was my lower back. Like, go figure. And then I'm telling my clients that, like, your issue's probably your lower back. Let's check it out. No, there's no way. Well, how much time do you spend sitting? Oh, a lot. Okay, so I want you to try this. Come back to me in a week. 99% of the time, getting them to do more cobras, their knee pain goes away like that.
Yeah.
So it was a big issue for you, was getting you to open up and become more nimble,
Yeah.
less internally rotated, so to speak. I know it's not a clinical term, but I'm not.
We'll have to coin some
Nimble.
term and say it's ours.
Yeah, the all the clinical terms we use now, to make people sound smarter. It's like, I don't care about clinical terms. I just, whatever's effective and gets you moving, that's all I care about.
I know. I remember we were training probably about a month ago, and then I remember you brought up, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And I remember looking at it, I was like, "Why would we do a podcast? Who the hell would want to listen to you and I do a podcast?" Because there's thousands of fucking podcasts out there with everybody kind of doing the thing. But when you explain it to me, like, hey, military guy, prison guy, training together, stuff we've seen, Generation X, which is failing fast compared to what these new generations are and stuff like that. And you're like, hey, let's give it a run and we'll see if this thing kicks off. You talk about training, and because you and I both have the same kind of like, I guess, like, I wouldn't say spiritual quotes or stuff like that, but we both believe in kind of something bigger than ourselves, and there's a reason why things happen and stuff like that. Like, we're not down a rabbit hole of that stuff, but we do believe in like our friends that passed are watching us, and they're cheering us on and stuff like that. So yeah, and then you thought, hey,
we definitely have a hell of a lot in common. And in the end, I wanted to start this podcast to share what we've been through. Military, there's a lot of people, a lot of vets that are struggling. I know you and I have talked about that to great lengths. There's a ton of vets that are struggling. So I'm hoping that if there's any vets that are listening, they can listen to you and understand that, at some point you're going to leave the military, and they probably already have, and they're probably thinking like, so what's next? And that's a big thing with men, is we need purpose. We need purpose in order to feel fulfilled. So if you're kind of looking like, what's the next part of my life? What's the next chapter going to be? I wanted someone like you who could hopefully help those that are just kind of lost right now, that are struggling, that are using any kind of coping mechanism or vice because of the things they've seen and the things they've been through. And for myself, I always had this feeling that so many people, even though not a lot of people have been to prison, I think everyone is doing some form of time. I think that people have made self-imposed prisons that limit them, self-limiting behavior, self-limiting talks, negative self-talk, the lack of hope, whatever it is that's happened in their life, depression, mental health issues. It's getting people to free themselves from the prisons that are currently stopping them from living the life they could live. And what people need to understand is that it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years sometimes. It took me years to get to where I am right now. And I always tell people, like, it's not about the time that I'll get to that. Actually, that's my quote. That's my quote for later. But like your past doesn't define who you are. You always have time. It just, you have to give yourself time in order to make the most of what you have. It's a process.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping this podcast is going to bring to people, is that there's hope. No matter what, no matter where you've been, you can overcome a lot. I'm hoping that we can give some tools, some guidance.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more into it later in another podcast, but for people to know, like, I got out almost 2 years now. I retired and I got out on a medical, and they released me on a medical due to injuries and PTSD and mental health and all that. So later on, different podcasts, I can go into more detail and if there's other veterans, and because it's like when you release, it's like the happiest day of your life, and it's also the shittiest day in your life, and you don't realize it's the shittiest day of your life until 2 weeks later when you're at home with no direction. Oh,
now what?
Where are you going to go? Yeah.
Now what?
But all you think about is how happy you'll be when you get out. That's all you think about. And remember, you telling me in prison was the same thing. All you think about how happy be is when you get out. And then when you get out, you're like, fuck, now what? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you're like
what? I have so much time I'm trying to make up for that I've lost. And fortunately I did have a wife that was waiting for me. She was my fiance at the time. But it's like, now I've got to actually do something with myself. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to provide for it? Like, it seems so overwhelming, and life, all of a sudden you go from an extremely structured life, like in the military, to now everything's coming at you. I mean, I never held a smartphone. Like I remember the first thing my wife got me was one of these when I was still in minimum security. She had given me one on a weekend that I had gone home, as we were allowed to leave the prison for 1 weekend a month. So I think it was like my second or third time that I was going home to her home. She got me a smartphone. I had never held a smartphone in my life. I didn't know I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? What do you mean? Where's the power button? Where's what do you mean unlock it with my thumbprint?
Yeah.
Right? Because it was like an iPhone 7. This is back in 2018. Like, I didn't know what the heck this was. It just looked like a brick. My last phone before this was a BlackBerry Pearl. There was buttons. There was a power button that was red. It was distinct. It told me that's what turned the phone on. And I was like, here you go, Tyson, figure this out. Like, what? And it was trying to learn to adapt to that. And this is what I'm hoping our audience can relate to, because when you are coming out of depression, you're coming out of military, you're coming out of a bad relationship, an unhealthy relationship, you've lost someone you love, whatever it is, whatever the audience is struggling with, it's like, now what? What do I do? What are the first steps I need to do? And this is what this podcast is for. It's providing steps for people to freedom, some form of freedom, some form of purpose. So getting into the kind of the next area, we've covered kind of the purpose of what we want to do with this. So what would you say are some key components that have helped you personally, and how did you apply it?
Jeez. Talk about put me on the spot there with these ones. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like when I first got out, of course, massive depression. You know what I mean? Massive depression sneaks in slowly every day. And then you're into one of those, like, you're having some drinks on the weekend. And next thing you know, you're having some drinks on a Tuesday. And then you're having a couple drinks on a Thursday. And then next thing you know, you're 4 or 5 days a week and you don't even realize it, you know? And you just get into this rut, this almost lazy rut a little bit, where you're searching for the next thing, but you don't know what it is. And then it's just a combination of stuff. Like I had the whole story. I had a tremendous, tremendous best friend. And then he passed away. And this is all like, as I'm going through my medical release, my PTSD, then my best friend passes away. And I just went into like probably the worst funk ever, just massive depression. I was done. I was ready to check out. I was like, I've had enough. I don't want to keep going, you know? And it was just, I don't know, it was weird. It was just finding the right key people. And, they say you find the key people when you need to, when you're least expecting it. It was like bumping into you again at the gym, and restarting our workouts, rekindling our, our spirit of lifting weights and training and talking about the good old days and just getting up it's weird. I hate using those cliches, but getting up every
But
morning and
they're true.
yeah. Like getting up every morning, I have a routine. I'm off to the gym. It's not
Yeah.
even a question. I'm up to gym, come back, I straighten out the house, I do the things I like to do in the routine, stuff like that. I make sure I get my 10,000 steps a day. I proper meals and meal prep and all that. And like, it's easy, but it's not. It's hard to explain sometimes. It's just you have to get yourself into that routine every day where you just program your mind. It's like I'm doing it regardless, and you know, yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just one of those like hitting the gym with you, and staying active, and getting outside, getting the fresh air, the sunlight, the vitamin D, especially in the winter now, which is my worst time where I go through a bad depression. Is like you talked
Yeah.
about with me, and
Seasonal affective disorder we had talked about. Yeah.
yeah, so the doc gives me some more medication for that. And then you got me on the vitamin D supplements. And then our good friend Lisa, that we'll probably talk about later on, have her on. And she's an excellent girl for pills and make sure we have enough vitamin D, vitamin C, protein, all the stuff we need. And yeah, it's just, I don't want to make it sound as easy. Like I just woke up one day and said, oh, okay, I'll just start a routine. It was like, well, you picked me up at my lowest point a few times at the gym where you saw me just destroyed. But it's that slow little battle, and it's just doing one thing per day. You just start off at one thing per day. And so I just started off, I just got to hit the gym. And then after I got into the routine of the gym, and it's like, okay, I'll do the gym and then my steps. And then the gym, steps, eating, hitting my appointments, physio, trying to get better, stuff like that. And then it's just one of these slow things. You have to just, it's like somebody carving a statue out of a piece of rock. It's just every
Yeah.
day chipping a little bit more until you get the creation you're looking for, And you're going to have stumbles.
Yeah.
There's one days he's going to chip too much and a big piece is going to fall off and he's going to fucking lose it. Sorry, I don't mean swear. He's going to lose it. He's going to have to start over and fix it and stuff like that. It's going to happen. You're going to go through the exact same stuff, but it's like pick up that piece, put it in your bag and keep going,
Yeah. Our journey literally was, and I remember telling you this, was like, I just need you here today. You can quit tomorrow. And then, you get through the day. Okay. So you're the next day, get out of bed, get to the gym, do what you need to do today, quit tomorrow. And it was every day was the same thing. Like just get through the day. And there was days, man, I remember you coming in some days where you had a cloud. We had some seriously tough sessions when we first started back together.
Yeah.
And we had a lot to unpack. And that's kind of the funny thing is, like people, when I start working with clients and I give them my hourly rate, they're like, oh, well, yeah, look, I get it. I am an overpaid counter, but I am an underpaid therapist, and I will stand by that to this day. Right? I realize that hour that I'm with you and I'm with other clients, this is the hour where I am trying to not just give you more in the way of physical strength, but I'm trying to make sure that within that hour, I can cram as much into your head to get through the next few days until our next session. Because I understand you guys are going through some things.
Yeah.
I don't work with bodybuilders. I don't work with your average client. I want people that are broken. I want people that are struggling. I want recovering addicts. These are the people actually I worked with when I was in prison. When I got my stuff together, I used to have guys come in my cell. Like, how are you headed the way you're, like, how are you doing what you're doing? And they're thinking there's like some magic. It's like, there's no magic. It's doing the work that no one wants to do.
Yeah.
Right. It's doing those things. For me, I started with becoming, and again, I know I've gotten you to work on this. Like you said, the four spirituality was a big thing. It's the 4 quadrants of health, right? With all of my clients, we need to get strong physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And the great thing about the gym is it also provides kind of a 5th aspect, which is your social.
Yeah.
Right? We need the social health too.
Yeah. We
need to have the right people around us because a lot of the time we have the wrong people around us. And that's what I'm always encouraging my clients to do is like, look, as you're building yourself, you're going to need to refine and even change your circles. And that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But let's just start with one thing first. Let's just get you in here taking care of your physical health. Those other things are going to come.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the mornings.
It's not all at once.
Yeah. The mornings of me and you in the gym and stuff with the people, like that crew we have every morning. we're chirping each other, we're picking on each other, we're pushing each other. You got it, one more, you got it. And then we're making fun of somebody's shirt or this or that. But that bond every morning, it's like you look forward to going in just to hear what insult you're going to get nailed with. And then, or, you're going to do a PR and then everybody crowds around you to make sure you do that PR and stuff like that. Some of that time is the funnest time in the mornings in the gym,
Yeah. It's rewarding. Absolutely. It's rewarding, man. It's kind of looking at something that was shared to me actually by my best friend when I was incarcerated. I have it queued up here on the side. I say my best friend, but he's more like my brother. I've grown up with him since I was like 5 years of age. And his name's Joel. Him and his wife are the ones that actually introduced me to my wife while I was incarcerated. And he shared with me a scripture while I was incarcerated, and it's always stuck with me. And it's Proverbs 17:17. It says, "True friend shows love at all times, and is a brother who is born for times of distress." So when I look at what we've been able to develop as not just client, coach, but as friends, it's being there in the hard times, is being there. Like that to me is the most rewarding part of my job, is helping people who are struggling. And so the only way I think I can honor my victim, the way that I can pay it forward, because I can't bring him back, and I owe that guy a life debt. He doesn't get a second chance at life. So you better believe that I am not going to squander my second chance, and I'm not going to squander my opportunity, that every single day that I have is going to be helping people and giving back and paying it forward in some way, shape, or form, to being, as that scripture said, being a brother to those who are in distress.
Right. Yeah.
There's no greater service than serving others.
Yeah.
It's so rewarding. It's part of that redemption thing. You've heard me say it a lot, the road to redemption. This is what the road to redemption is.
Right.
It's paved with, I don't want to say good deeds, because I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but you're trying to pay it forward. You're trying to help other people. That's what redemption's about. Once you help yourself, now it's like that I put my oxygen mask on. Now I'm trying to put the oxygen mask on everyone else.
Yeah.
It's like just a simple step. Like just take care of yourself. Do that. You take care of yourself, you can better take care of the world around you.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
it's a beautiful thing to see.
I like it so much. Just, the crew we have now and the situation now and how far we've come from like 2 years ago, like never thought I'd make it, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at it now and stuff and how much better it is. And it's amazing how much it can improve. I think what people don't understand is it takes time. People are always out for the quick fix, and it's not a quick fix at all.
The 12-week challenge. Join me for a 12-week challenge. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to knock it, because I understand it's a good place to get started.
Yeah.
I understand that. It's a place for people to start their journey. But that's the problem too, is they're like, everything's framed within 12 weeks. And I don't do gimmicks. As a coach, I refuse to do 12-week challenges. I refuse to do those gimmicks. If you really want change, we can approach it. We're obviously going to approach it with short-term, and kind of medium and then long range, right? We want to approach it in steps, in processes, but it's a commitment. I'm trying to get my clients into the mindset that this is a lifelong commitment. However long you're with me, I want to get you to the point where you understand that this is something that you will be able and you must do for the remainder of your days.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like I get people ask me all the time at the gym. They're like, "Oh man, you're in great shape. Why you still hire Tyson?" I'm like, it's not just hiring Tyson because I won't do it unless he tells me. It's the mental pushing that he gives me. It's the brotherhood. It's the fixing, my happiness, my depression, my keeping me accountable. Okay, I don't want to have that drink because I know I got to train with Tyson tomorrow. I don't want to eat that chips because I know I got to train with Tyson tomorrow. It's just that whole thing of life. And if that's what I need to do to keep me on track, then I got no problems training with a trainer that keeps me in check and keeps me that. And you do that for as long as you can, and it helps you and it works. Do it for the rest of your life then, if you can afford it.
Well, I'm not your trainer. I'm your parole officer. And I always make that analogy. Like when people are what has been instrumental in my success. Obviously, there's been a lot of change, but the one great thing, I'm on parole for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which means I'm always accountable, and I always have to answer to my parole officer.
Yeah.
So having that, make sure it ensures that I don't go, sorry, swallowed wrong here. Water.
It's because you're drinking water and not Monster. That's why.
It ensures that I don't go back to the wrong people,
Yeah.
the wrong vices, all of that. And if that was the price I had to pay to be who I am today, so be it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a small price to pay. Losing 10 years in my opinion, it was a small price to pay. The only price I wish I didn't have to pay was that it was to such an extreme degree of someone losing their life.
Right.
I'm always going to regret that part, but I'll never regret doing a decade behind bars. If I had to pay that price again, absolutely.
Because the way you and I talk, if you didn't do that decade behind bars, you probably would have been behind bars for life because you wouldn't have changed yourself. You would have kept going down the dark road.
I would have gone right back. I would have gotten out. Had I gotten like a number, right? I got a life sentence. Had I gotten a number, I wouldn't have had the drive or the reason to change my life. I would have gone out. I would have gone back to the same circle, done the same things, ended up back in prison. So I would end up doing a life bit on installment plans, or I would have ended up dead. One or the other. Like that was the path I was headed down. So I had talked about quotes. So one thing I wanted to ask you is, I have a quote that I live by. Do you have a quote that you live by, or that means something to you?
Yeah. Yeah. There's one I like. They say, "This too shall pass," and it's weird. It's like whenever I feel like really down or whatever, I always think in my head, "This too shall pass," and just when I'm riding high and I'm happy and I'm got the endorphins and everything's flying, I got to know, like, this too shall pass. Like you're going to have your highs and lows and shit will pass. It doesn't mean you're going to crash and burn, but you have to embrace that your life is like this and you're going to have highs and lows. And whenever you think everything's perfect, you have to remember this too shall pass and you're going to come down. But when you're down, that too shall pass and you'll go back up. And that's kind of what life is. And our challenge is to try to keep it like this as much as possible. But life is like this, So I always tell myself, if I wake up one day and I'm supposed to train with you and I feel shitty and it's cold winter and I'm just not feeling it, I'm like, this too shall pass. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to work out. And, Tyson will know I'm off a little and he'll throw some quotes in there and kick my butt. And then I know things will get better.
Nothing gets by me, buddy.
Yeah. And then I'll come home in a better mood or this. And I'll be like, see, like that too shall pass. And, so I always, whenever I feel like shitty, I just always try to remember that, like in my head.
Isn't there a Latin quote for that?
I don't know the Latin quote. I know there's a Latin quote I use. It's called victa non verba.
Yeah. What does that one mean?
That one means deeds, not words.
So I like that.
So whenever I'm struggling, like whenever I was trying out for GTF and I was training like 7 days a week and swimming and running, whatever. And there's a big quote they have up at GTF on all the walls and it's victa non verba and it means deeds, not words. So doesn't matter what you say. Doesn't matter how many promises you make to yourself or how good you say you are or whatever. It's what your deeds do.
Dude, I love those two quotes.
Yeah. So it's like,
I love that.
I could say I'm the greatest gym guy, whatever, but if I don't go to the gym, if I don't do my diet, if I don't do whatever, it's just all talk, no action. So it's like, that's why it's like deeds over words, victa non verba. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one that maybe mirrors this isn't a quote, but just one that's always resonated with me is in prison. There was I can't remember who said it to me, but a guy who was doing a life bit, he's always telling me, Tyson, real killers move in silence. Don't tell anyone your plans. Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. And that always stuck with me is just like, yeah, like the least that people can, or the least amount that people can know about your plans, especially in prison, because people like to hate.
Yeah.
Right. Is you just stay silent, and just do what you need to do. Put in the work.
Oh God.
You'd think that like other lifers would support you as you're trying to get your parole. Nope. Yeah. Same thing when people are trying to lose weight, right? You might come from a family that is fat and overweight and weak, and they're all victims, right? Victims by design. And you're now like, you know what? I don't want to do this. I want to break the cycle. I want to break this. I'm going to break that cycle.
Yeah.
Now, for the first little bit, your family might support you. Your friends might support you. But guess what? At a certain point, they are going to sabotage what you're doing because misery loves company.
Yeah.
I say that in so many of my posts. But there's a reason why, right? So just stay silent and just, like you said, that Victor non-verba?
Victa non verba. Deeds, not
Victa
words.
non-verba. Yeah, deeds, not words. Do it in deeds. Stay silent.
Yeah. Oh
Stay
yeah, how many
silent.
people that go on, and I hate calling it a diet because it's not a diet, but how many people eat properly, and then people say, "Oh, you're gonna starve on that. Oh, you're not getting enough food." I'm like, why? Because I'm eating healthy food. It's like, and there's nothing worse. I hate when people like see that your business is successful or see that I'm doing good in the gym now, and they're like, "Oh, it must be nice." I'm like, really? Must be nice? Did you spend the 10 years in prison like Tyson? Did you spend the 28 years I did in the military, living in the most shithole bushes, eating INP meals, frozen in a bag, whatever? Yeah. And then people see you now, you're succeeding at the end of your life, or you're retired, you got some money saved up, drive a decent truck, and they're like, "Oh, it must be nice." Really? Yeah, it is nice because I put in the work I needed to do. And so did you, and so did all those people at the gym that are there every morning before work or every day after work, getting their hours in, their steps and all that. And then you have the people say, "Oh, I wish I had that time. I wish I had that kind of,
It's so funny you said that. I had a guy and like, look, like there's nothing against him. I don't even really know him. It's just someone who follows me on TikTok. I made a post. I forget which post it was, but he had just left in my comments today that how he feels discouraged when he sees influencers buying a house and this car and this and that, and he's struggling with his little shitty apartment and his beater vehicle and struggling to make ends meet. It's not fair. And it's like, dude, don't worry about what those other people are doing.
Yeah.
If they're, number one, if they are not genuine, if they're not real, eventually they're going to lose what they have because the truth is going to present itself. It always happens that way. So take faith in that. I'm not wishing ill upon people, but if it's not merited, it will go away at some point. The other thing is, like, don't worry about what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Like, why are you focused on what someone else has achieved? Everyone knows the quote, comparison is a thief of joy, but more so, comparison is a thief of purpose. Yeah, you're in a really shitty situation. This guy's in maybe a shitty situation right now, but he can do things each and every day, little steps to get himself out of it. Like, I didn't come out of prison and go and get myself a nice truck. I didn't go and have the life that I have right now. No, I worked hard, sometimes 16, 18-hour days in order to be where I am today. And a lot of the time, too, this is the difference between these people that they're focused on these things. Is like, you need to adopt, the key to this guy's success is to adopt an abundance mindset, not a scarcity mindset. Be grateful for what you have. At least you might have a shitty apartment. At least you're not homeless.
Yeah.
You might have a shitty car, but at least you're not taking the bus.
Yeah.
Right? You might not have a great job, but at least you have a job.
Yeah, like
we get too hung up on the things that other people have. Like, just be grateful for what you have.
Yeah. Well, from our day, Gen X, I lived on the bus. I didn't have a car for the longest time, man. Yep. I had to take the bus.
OC Transport was my limo, bro.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Everybody's, I don't want a bus. I want a car right away. And that house was too small for my first house. I want a bigger house. But man, I went from the bus to a shitty bachelor apartment where there wasn't even a room. Everything's just in a big square. And then you save up, you move up, you work at it. Like, people just think this thing is just going to happen overnight, man. It takes a long time to fix yourself mentally, physically.
Stages.
Yeah. And it's just
stages.
Yeah. Okay. There's people that are more successful than you posting on Instagram. It's always been like that in life. Some people are more successful. Some people are better at other things, but it doesn't mean you're doing a shitty job. Not everybody can be a Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or whatever it is. And some people are grinders. Some people are workers. Some, we're the blue collar people. It's not everybody's going to have the great success.
We need blue collar. We need white collar. We need every type out there in order for this world to function.
Yeah.
It's don't be a victim. Victim mindset, man. That needs to like be squashed. And I think it's just because we live in such a soft world that we're so hung up, especially social media. Again, everything is out there for people to see. It's like, well, I want that life. Okay, then get it.
Yeah.
Create a vision board and work towards it. Change it. You don't like your stars? Change your stars.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And it's like, well, that's easier said than done, Tyson. No, like, bro, you're talking to a guy who is spending life behind bars. Like, trust me, if anyone can say it, it's me. Yeah. I lost everything. Yeah. Everything. When I met my wife, I had maybe 5 cans of tuna, 10 cans of salmon, a couple dozen eggs in my in canteen. I had worn out clothes that I'd already had for 5 years that had holes in it.
Yeah.
I had a shitty 13-inch TV, ghetto blaster. I had some CDs, and I had a Nintendo 64. That's what I had when I met my wife. But she didn't care about that. She cared about who I was, and she saw the potential that I had. So stop worrying about this. I only have this. I promise if you're listening to this right now, that means you have a smartphone.
Yeah.
And if you have a smartphone, you had more to start than I did.
Yeah, it's true.
So do something with it. Stop being a damn victim. Change your stars. Like I said, change your stars. You want a better life, then go out there and hustle for it. I didn't come out of prison and be like, well, I better go on government assistance. I'm going to go get my welfare check. No, yeah, I get it. There's some people who need that. Like, I'm not slighting anyone who needs government assistance. But I chose when I got out, no, I'm going to do this. I need to create a life. I promised my wife that I would, I used to tell her, like, I can't give you the world. I would if I could, but it's not mine to give. But I'm going to do my best to give you the best life that I can possibly create for us.
Yeah, exactly.
She was my why.
Yeah.
If you're struggling, find your why. You need every man, woman, everyone needs a why. Why are you doing this? Why do you want to get healthy? Why do you want to change your life?
Yeah.
And because is not a good reason. Because, okay, define it. Define your why. And the beautiful thing about life is your why changes as you go. Your why is, like first my why was because I want to get my freedom.
Right.
Because I don't want to be in prison for the rest of my life. Well, then what happens when you get your freedom? Okay, well, what's my why? And now that I have achieved that next why, a why that, had you told me that I'd be where I am today when I was in prison, and I know I've said this to you and I've said this to other people, I would have punched you in the face. Oh, one day you're going to have this, this, and this. I'd be like, what'd you say?
Yeah.
No way, I'm done. I'm never going to have, no. And here I am. So now that I've achieved this, there's always like, okay, now I'm grateful for what I have, but I'm still hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
I'm still ready to grind.
And no one ever says it's going to be easy. When we say you have to change, it's going to suck. Like, yeah, it's going to suck 100%, man. You're going to be miserable. You're going to have to change everything. Jobs. Yeah, you're going to hate it. It's going to suck. But it's going to go way down. And like I said, this too shall pass. And then it'll slowly start getting better. But if you stay on that same thing, then nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change.
If nothing changes, nothing changes. So I'll quickly share with the listeners my quote that I've lived by is, you can't make up for the time that you've lost. You can only make the most of the time that you have remaining. So for the people that are listening, and I know we've talked about this, you got at a certain point, you have to let go of the past. You got to stop living in the past. You can't change what has happened. As much as we would like to go back and change certain things, we can't. We can only make the most of the day that we have today. I'm making the most of the day today by starting this podcast with my great friend and doing this. Like I've been amped to do this. I've been talking about wanting to do a podcast for a while, and it was just like, you know what? Stop waiting for a bigger following. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
Even if I only have one listener that hears this podcast, maybe it's going to resonate with them. I don't care. If it has an impact, if this podcast has an impact on one person, then this was worth it.
Right.
That's all that matters. I don't give a damn about how big my audience is. This isn't about followers. This is about helping, finding people who need help. What was it from Jerry Maguire? Help me, help you.
Yeah.
Help me, help. I just want to help people.
Well, it's true.
And I know you want to help people.
Yeah, it's like when you first asked me, I was like, well, I wasn't sure because I was like, we probably won't get anybody and stuff like that. And you're like, well, so let's say we get 10 veterans and a couple other guys and we help them. And you're like, would that be cool? I'd be like, yeah, that'd be cool. And you'd be like, all right, let's do it. So I was like, okay. It's Sunday. It's winter. It's shitty out. So
better time to start than this. It's minus 26. Like, what are we going to do, right? It's minus 26 and it's snowing outside. Like,
yeah,
it is what it is. So, and I think too, society has blown things out of proportion, right? Like, oh, this guy has 1 million followers and 200,000 listeners, and Like we're comparing our podcast to potentially comparing our podcast or comparing TikTok or Instagram to other people. Who cares if you have and there's this one guy, I think Higher Up Wellness, this guy that I've started to follow on TikTok. I love his stuff. He says, like, imagine you had 200 people in a room. He's like, if your post only gets 200 views or 300 views, he's like, imagine having that many people in a room and you're sharing your message with. Would that not be profound? And I was like, shit, yeah. Like what? We have this thing where it's like, oh, it's not successful unless I have thousands, hundreds of thousands of listeners.
Yeah.
Bro, if I've got 5 people in a room or 10 people in a room or 100 people in a room listening to what we have to say, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah, and especially when we get into more like, what I had to do to train to make it,
Dude, I can't wait for those episodes. Oh my, because I know what you had to do to train, and I can't wait for my listeners to hear, like, in order to be the best of the best. And Canada, like, look, we have a crappy military. We all know this.
Yeah.
But JTF is what, top 3 in the world?
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
You guys are the best of the best, literally.
Yeah.
So, like this, I'm sitting here not just with a vet, I'm sitting here with a retired best of the best. So listeners, you're in for a treat. You don't get this anywhere else. This isn't like, oh, I'm a Navy SEAL.
Oh God, yeah. It's not
a B team, baby.
Brags about gunfights and I got into 160 gunfights in one day. So get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, so this is like the Matrix, right? All the bullets started slowing down and you started to dodge them like Neo, No, when you told me your things, I was just like, damn, like people need to hear it. Like, this is the real deal. And I love it because you've never been talking about it like it's like, oh yeah, you know what I did? No, it's just like, bro, this is what I survived. You're like, sounds a lot more daunting than the showers in prison, I'll tell you that much. Like, damn, man, like, holy smokes. Hey, anyways, I'm really looking forward to it. So that was just making sure we don't go crazy here again, like, I always want this to be as natural, but we do have a bit of a script we're trying to stay to. So I think we've shared some pretty good things on what's helped us with our transformation. And again, we're going to get more into that in future podcasts. So finishing off kind of wrapping this up for everyone, is there anything that we can leave our listeners to that, again, that are I think we've touched on it a bit, but they're facing adversity, that are feeling like overwhelmed and they don't know where to start? Is there something that you can leave them with to, you said earlier, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
But is there something that you can leave them with?
I can only say it's like what helped me is just like, you have to just start with one thing. Just start with one thing, and it could be small. If it's just you get up in the morning at, let's say, 7 o'clock every day, and at 7 you go to the gym and you do an hour workout. As long as you just start with one thing, and you do that every day till it becomes a routine. And then once that happens, just throw one more thing in there. And then you have 2 things that you have to do every day. You know what I mean? And it was just that little things. And like things I told myself, like for drinking and stuff like I never went down the drug way like you did.
Yeah.
But I turned to alcohol to numb my brain and stuff like that. And so I tell myself, okay, like no drinking Monday to Friday, no drinking. You know what I mean? It was just little things. And so gym, get my steps, no drinking, and it just becomes easier and easier. But I'm telling you, the first 2 weeks are the hardest you'll ever do.
Absolutely.
It's like that hump day. They always say, quitting smoking, quitting this, quitting that. That first 2 weeks is so hard. But once you pass that, things just start flowing and you'll notice things get a little easier. You just got to keep on it. You got to keep going, keep the pedals moving, keep the bike moving. You'll get to that top of that hill, but you got to keep pedaling. If you stop pedaling, the bike is just going to go backwards. And then you're going to have to redo it again.
Build a habit, kind of.
Yeah.
Take one thing you're struggling with. People are like, don't say bad habit. Like, no, let's call a spade a spade. Like, take one bad habit, whatever's currently destroying your life the most.
Yeah.
Not all of it, but one thing. So if it's alcohol, or if it's I don't do, maybe, I think, again, you said it right. You said it the best. Start with something physical. So if you are currently not exercising, that is in itself a bad habit. You're not doing something physical. So you're technically not even removing anything. You're just adding something you didn't have. which is even easier, right? So just self-care. You're right. Start with just investing in yourself, because we're trying to correct so many things. Maybe you're in a relationship with a spouse, partner, your kids, whatever. You're like, well, I wish they would. Why don't people believe in me? Because you don't believe in yourself. You're not investing in yourself. If you're not investing in yourself, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't keep the promises that you've made to yourself, how is anyone else going to do anything for you? It always starts with you.
Yeah.
Right? It always starts again. Put your oxygen mask on first so you can help the other people that are struggling.
Yeah.
Start with one thing for you. That's it.
And
It's not complicated. Sorry, go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say, I mean, and so many people I see, like, they get hung up like, oh, I can't do 10,000 a day. It's too much. I'm like, okay, I don't care if you do 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You can do whatever you want. Just walk, just move, like, don't get hung up on a number. Like, I like a number for a challenge. But when I started, I was doing like 2,000, 3,000. Okay. And then you do a few more, you get that drive in you or something. But like, I see people on Instagram like, oh, is 10,000 really good? I don't give a crap how many steps you do. It's just moving your body and doing something that'll benefit you. So don't worry
just do more than you did yesterday.
Exactly.
That's basically all it is. Like the 10,000 steps is arbitrary.
Yeah.
If you're moving 2,000 steps a day right now, let's say that's your average, aim for 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Once you hit that consistently, add a little more, add a little more. Eventually, then you start adding things for your mind, right? The thing for me is, if you can, and this would be my recommendation to finish off, kind of wrap up this episode, to kind of tie in what you were saying. Yes, do one thing, but if you can add one more thing to it when you're doing your walks, if you're just going to start with walks, gratitude. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. There's something so instrumentally important when it comes to just being grateful for the opportunity that you have to fix your life. Yeah, your life is in a bad place right now, but it can get better. It will get better.
Yeah.
So, but just be grateful at least that you're in a position that you have an opportunity to better it right now.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
This too shall pass. But it's not going to pass if you stay doing the same thing over and over again and then expect anything different. It's not going to happen.
Sir, you are absolutely right. This is why I got you on here.
It's the silver fox of wisdom that's coming out of me now. You know what I mean?
I am so sorry to my listeners right now. This is why Jay and I get along so well, because this is literally our chirping sessions at the gym, is him saying some wise ass thing. I roll my eyes, I come back with a quip, and then it's an hour of, anyways. No, we love each other. This has been an absolute blast for the first session, the first episode. So thank you, Jay, for joining today as my co-host. Thank you to all the people who turned in to hear the first episode. We are going to be looking to do an episode a week, so stay tuned. I want to just ask anyone here, please subscribe and like this episode. And if you know someone who would like this episode or benefit from it, share with them. I want Jay and I to build a community to help people that are struggling. We want to help people kind of start their journey on their road to redemption, so to speak. So you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram or Facebook for other content, other things, and that'll be linked up in the I guess in the description. Again, this is my first podcast, so there'll probably be some links somewhere for our handles. But yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jay. I'm looking forward to our next episode next week. Stay tuned.
Cool, buddy.